Good morning, world.
Good morning.
Today we're going to do a review of a video I found with Peter Boghossian, and we'll get into who Peter Boghossian is in a second, but he does something called street epistemology where he puts a statement out, and then he finds people that will agree or disagree with him.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian, and this is Cedric and Brian. Okay, so for those of you who don't know who Peter Boghossian is...
Yes, who is Peter Boghossian?
He was a professor at, I think it was Portland State. It was someplace in Oregon. And he did some peer-review papers with a couple other people. And this was a controversial thing because he submitted it to be in one of the publications for school, for college. Well, he put all these bogus terms in it. He just made up terms.
I think I remember that.
So, and the thing passed all the peer review, and it ended up being published. He just showed the ridiculousness of college, number one, and of the whole peer review.
I always used to tell students, I said, just make sure the first 2 pages are good and the last 2 pages, everything else in the middle, you can just put in whatever you feel like.
But when it comes to these things, he goes out there and he is really prepared. Are you prepared?
Like Brian says, are you prepared? Do you have enough food, water, and other essentials to get you through tough times? If not, check out My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's #1 preparedness company, and they've served millions of American families just like yours. Right now, you can save 25% off their popular 4-week emergency food kit, which will keep you well fed for 4 weeks worth of breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks, totaling over 2,000 calories a day. This food stays fresh for up to 25 years in proper storage, so it will be there when you need it. In fact, you may need it a lot sooner than that.
So don't wait. Go to www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com. That's www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com. But we're doing one of his street epistemology, so he doesn't form things as a question. He just puts a statement. Here we go.
We're going to have a conversation about trans women should be able to compete in women's sports. Anybody have an opinion about that? I have a feeling this is too controversial for people, so we might have to change the claim. But somebody must...
So it's sad that that's controversial on a college campus.
Actually, I disagree. The way college campuses are now, I can see how that is controversial.
It's sad.
Must want to have an honest conversation about this. Do you think trans women should be able to compete in women's sports? Too controversial, even for you, son. This alone is interesting to me. Nobody will have a conversation about this. Interesting. Trans women should...
Before we go on, I just want to explain a couple things. So, we're not bringing Peter Boghossian on because we agree with him. Number one, he is a critical thinker. I like the way he breaks things down. Personally, I don't agree with a lot of stuff about him. He said he's never voted for a Republican. He is an ardent atheist. He tries to convince people to be atheists. I don't agree with that. I'm not the religious one, Cedric's the religious one, but why would you want to take somebody's faith away from them? So some of these atheist guys, it's just like, we're live and let live type of people. So I just going forward, we don't have a dog in this fight. We're not a big Peter Boghossian fan. I'm just a fan of these segments that he does.
Okay, the critical thinking
It's try to get people to think critically.
Okay.
So just a FYI.
Should be able to compete in women's sports. You want to have that conversation? Nope, too scared. Okay. Trans women should be able to compete in women's sports. Anybody have it? You have an opinion? Awesome. Stand on the neutral line right there. So the game has only 2 rules. We can do it with one. Oh, we got 2 people. Oh, we got 3 people. All right, well, I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't think it would come. Okay, stand on neutral. Okay, so this is a very simple game. We have a few rules. The first rule is you can't stand in between the line.
Okay.
Very straightforward.
So I was just noting here that the girl in the front, and this will come out later, look at her posture. She's in that kind of defensive posture. She's
like,
not
bring it.
Not sure what this is about. I'm a little defensive about it.
Yeah. It's amazing how you get one person to commit to something, then the others just come out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah, that's how it always goes.
Yeah.
You always got to get that first person.
Yeah.
The second rule is you can't move until I say move. And the reason for that is because we don't want anybody's opinion to affect anybody else's opinion.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Precisely. Now let me go over this. strongly agree, agree, slightly agree, neutral, slightly disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. So I'm going to ask this question and count back to 5, and don't move until I get to go and stand on a line. It could not possibly be any simpler, but you'd be astonished how many people do not pay attention to the rules.
And they are in college.
Trans women should be able to compete in women's sports. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Okay, we've got 1 disagree, 1 strongly agree, 2, you're on the line. Okay, tell us why you agree.
I agree because trans women should be able to compete in women's sports because they are competing underneath their identity that they very solidly align with, and to deprive them of that is to kind of say that their identity is not acceptable in society.
In society or
like in sports, that they're not valid. Their identity is not validated.
Okay. Do you agree with what she said?
Yes, but that's not specifically why I agree that trans women should be able to compete in sports.
Okay. Why do you think?
I believe trans women should be able to compete in sports because they have specific criterion that trans women have to meet in order to be able to compete under the woman category.
In which sport?
All right, I already want to smack her.
I know, but you can't do that. That you can't hit a woman.
I know.
Yeah.
But just
I'm a little concerned with the girl.
let me know what you think.
I'm a little concerned with the girl on the other side. Part of me thinks she wants to go to strongly disagree, but she said, I'll play it somewhat safe and I'll just go to disagree.
This one?
No, the one we can't see, who's not in the film right now.
Oh, yeah.
I would have thought she would have gone to strongly disagree, but she just said, I disagree.
Yeah. We'll find out.
Sports.
I'm not an expert on all sports.
I'm not an expert either.
But I do know for at least the Olympics, there are requirements for trans women because when trans women go on when trans women go on hormones, testosterone drops in them. So a lot of the natural advantages they might have being born in a man's body are depleted, like the extra strength testosterone gives you, and so on and so forth. So they have to be below a certain testosterone level. They have to be on estrogen for a certain amount of time. And even the rule where you have to be below a certain testosterone percentages have stopped cis women from competing in sports. So they're very hard set rules. There's
Cis woman meaning what?
cis woman.
I love how he plays dumb.
Do you think he knows the meaning?
Yes.
Okay, he knows the meaning. Okay.
Women who are born as women.
Women who were born as women. Okay.
Cis women, yes. Cisgendered is when you're born in the correct sex. So I was born a woman, I identify as a woman still, I'm cis. If I were to identify as non-binary or anything else, I would not be cis. How are you gonna ask this question and not know what cis means?
Well, cis isn't in the question, and what cis might mean to you, that doesn't mean that people watching this are going to know what cis means.
Things are
Yeah, because this is a whole made-up term.
It's a made-up language. Yeah. Because we used to just call them women.
Things are a definition. Things mean things. Cisgender means
Things mean things.
But that's
Like women. Woman means woman.
Yeah.
But she won't admit that.
yeah, but she hit the nail right on the head. Words mean things.
Yeah.
They mean specific things.
Yep. And until 5 minutes ago, woman meant woman.
Right.
Again, I just want to.
What is a woman? What is a woman?
that's just.
Is it possible that some people could define or perceive the word women to be different?
Well, I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about the term cisgender.
Yeah, so
Same.
I think it's important that we define our terms. That's why I wanted to define it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's unfair enough for me to ask you to define it?
No, I just don't. It sounded like you didn't know what cisgender was, and I was just wondering if you didn't know that was why you thought you should ask that question.
Oh no, I'm an actually. I'll tell you why later, but I'm a legitimate gender studies scholar.
Oh, perfect then.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I don't mean to brag, but I've really outpublished almost anyone in the world in gender studies.
You do need to back a little bit. That is impressive.
Thank you. I'll show you my body of literature later. But for now, trans women should be able to compete in women's sports. What do you think about that?
I do not think they should be able to do that.
Okay. Did anything that they say persuade you? Think about that for a second, but tell us why.
I just think the biological makeup of a man is not the same as a woman, whether they take hormones or not. especially if they've been competing in that sport for years. They did it originally as a man or woman, and then they switched to female, which I played a female sport growing up.
What did you play?
Lacrosse, which is very different from male lacrosse. So I just think that it comes down to the biological makeup of like the training used for it and everything. But I agree with a lot of the stuff that they say. I'm not like they shouldn't do it, but I just think it should be.
So you
She's wavering already.
Yeah, do you think she really believes that, or she's saying like,
No, she's
like
trying to be with
most
the
college
crowd.
students are like, oh, I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to be canceled. So I agree with some of the things you're saying, but not everything.
Right.
Because it makes you think like, what parts of what the other two gals said do you agree with?
Yeah.
It's like it'd be interesting to hear that.
Yeah.
think, and I just want to make sure I get your argument right, you think that they shouldn't do it because it confers an unfair advantage on the person, even if they've met their hormone requirements, because as a biological male ages before they transition, they have certain intrinsic advantages. So is that, I don't want to mischaracterize,
yes.
is that,
Yes, that's what I mean.
did that persuade you?
I would say no, because we have talked about like the hormones and like the genetic makeup of a male body versus a female body, but there are changes that can happen whenever someone starts to transition that can affect their muscle density, just like their overall genetic makeup. Well, not their genetic makeup.
As a side note, just got announced that the International Swimming Federation, they just said that trans women who experience male puberty could not compete in women's events anymore. So
the pendulum is going to turn, ladies and gentlemen. I always put that in the comment section to people who are like disheartened, and I said it's swung so far to the left, it's got to come back just as hard.
But I think they should do it. Talk about high school too. It's not fair to high school,
No.
because what if they want to get the scholarship to college and they keep getting beat out?
Right.
I mean, are they going to give those two runners? Are they going to get scholarships in women's sports?
Right.
Just a side note.
But like their hormones and just how their body functions. So I don't know if that is like completely valid in arguing this.
What if I could provide you with evidence that even with the hormone replacement therapy, that still conferred an advantage on people born as men?
I would be open to revising my opinion.
So there's one.
Right.
So
Right.
she's going to be hated by the real strong leftist because she has an open mind.
Right.
Because she
Yes.
said, I'd be willing to. Keep that in
If
mind.
there's evidence presented on that.
So you would be open to revising, and would you be open to revising your opinion to go to the agree or the slightly agree?
Slightly agree, but I don't think I would go any farther than that.
So I had a question. If she gets evidence that shows that they have an advantage, why would she still be in the agree category at all?
Because she has to stay with the woke crowd, and she has to be part of that group that says transgender women are women.
Well, if you were given evidence that they have an advantage over cis women, then wouldn't you go to the other side?
You would think so, but we live in a bizarro world. You know, we stole that line from Ben Shapiro that says facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
They had the exact opposite
Yeah.
thought.
Feelings
Feelings do
don't
not
care.
care about your
Yep,
facts.
exactly.
Okay, so the thing that's keeping you must be some identity factor.
Yes.
Okay, if you were to be shown that advantage, would you move?
Probably not.
Okay, what would it take for you to move?
Nothing, probably. I feel very strongly
is-
about this. Because here's the thing. Even if you were...
She has
There's
stuck
the
her
key.
heels in the ground.
She just said, I feel strongly about this.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter any evidence, proof, nothing. Kind of goes back to the Black Lives Matter stuff. You know, with Breonna Taylor or something.
Yes.
They could show people proof that all the narrative was wrong,
Yes.
but it doesn't matter. Nope.
Yep.
Cops need to go.
Yep.
This is the same thing. I feel, and that was their term she used. Feel. I
Yep.
feel strongly.
Yep.
And so it goes to what you just said. Feelings don't care about your facts.
were to show me proof that people born as men who transition as women still have an unfair advantage, you know, I would believe that full-heartedly. I wouldn't like try to dispute that if I saw like the facts behind that.
Yeah.
However, sports inherently have genetic advantaged players, like Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps.
Oh, with the yeah.
He didn't produce like lactic acid. He had an abnormally large wingspan. He had like webbed toes and webbed feet. And that was not him competing. That's an unfair genetic advantage. We don't care about genetic advantages until it's someone trans.
So she just switched the argument.
Yeah. Yeah, completely flipped it around.
And by her logic right there, then why do we have men's and women's sports?
Exactly.
Transitioning from a man to a woman or a woman to a man.
I have to call you. I have to push back on that. I have personally never heard anybody concerned about people transitioning to a man competing in men's sports. Have you?
No, that's also another problem. Why are we so focused on trans women and not trans men as well?
They're the only ones doing it.
Because they're the only ones that have an advantage, a biological advantage.
Jeez.
This is a college student.
Well, I think
and it's an unfair advantage.
Yeah,
it should be.
that's why. That's
it should be but that's what I'm saying. No one really cares about it being an unfair advantage, or we wouldn't like basketball, for instance.
Yeah.
If you're tall and height, you could still make it to the NBA if you're like above 6'7". But if you're below 6 foot and phenomenal,
Yeah, that's a basketball short.
no, this is football. My shirt. This is the Seahawks, the football team.
Oh, okay. I don't know much about sports.
Yeah, well.
Ask me about gender studies. That's a different thing. But let's see.
Well, because it's about sports, some of the logistics you have are like that are in sports come into play here. And like I said, a lot of sports is genetic advantage. Like being born and having an aptitude for something shouldn't mean you can't do it. No one, like I said, no one wanted to make.
This is not part of the argument, but I have to argue as a former basketball player, we've gone away from the big guys, and people are looking now for small, skilled players.
Yeah, she's just trying to make a point, which are useless points because they have nothing to do with the subject anyway.
Michael Phelps not swimming in the Olympics.
So do you think that there should be one division and we just throw all men and women in the same division?
And that's not what I said.
No, but I'm asking
not?
you, is that what you think?
No.
Why not?
Honestly, I just haven't given that enough thought. I do think there is, some pros to having two separate divisions for men and women. But like I said, honestly, I haven't.
What are the pros?
Honestly, I haven't given that enough thought to have like a concrete stance.
That's a great cop-out.
But she has strong feelings about letting transgender women play in women's sports, but she hasn't given a lot of thought to why there's two divisions.
Because allowing transgender women to compete it speaks to fairness and equity.
Exactly. It all comes back
on
to
it
equity.
that I would want to fully stand
That's
behind
fair.
because I haven't done enough research or thought on it.
That's fair. So you think that there should be two divisions?
As of right now, before I do a lot of like thinking about it, but like I said, like I haven't put enough thought to it to give you a clear, firm stance.
Okay, so I'm kind of think through this myself. So the reason, and could be totally wrong, I'm just trying to figure this out myself. So the reason that there are two divisions are because there must be certain categories of things that different sexes are better at, or there wouldn't be divisions in the first place, unless it was just like some social convention.
You're not wrong there.
Is it possible to abstract from that and say that reason is what confers an advantage on somebody?
No, because you can have advantages over someone who's also the same gender as you, just as a different gender does. Gender is not the only factor that provides an advantage or not. However, it's definitely one that contributes to an advantage you have.
So if this girl got a scholarship, what major do you think she is?
Liberal studies.
Yeah. It's something in the liberal studies.
Yeah.
Right. And
Because there was a trans swimmer in the Olympics.
Thank God she's not in the sciences. Could you imagine having
jeez.
to put the scientific method with this type of reasoning?
Let's go to the
Although
Fauci.
that's happening.
It's the Fauci School of Science.
She didn't win. If trans women really have a crazy advantage on women, why didn't she sweep? Why didn't she do the
what does sweep mean?
win everything?
Sweep, like
win all the awards.
Oh, I thought you meant give her a mop and like sweep
No,
up.
why didn't she win all the awards? Why didn't she win
That's
every
mopping.
race? And why didn't she beat them by like seconds? Which is very.
But she
which
did
is
get into the Olympics.
She got into the Olympics. She didn't win. And that's because she's a trained swimmer. That's because she's been training to swim.
No, he was a trained swimmer all through high school.
Who's she talking about?
Leah.
Okay, so but Leah Thomas was number 462
As a man.
with a man, and went to number 1,
Yeah,
the women.
I know.
Was he talking about Leah?
Her reasoning was, why didn't she win everything in the Olympics if she has an advantage? That's a
what they do.
That's a moot point. She's creating the straw man thing again, where she just creates these other arguments and avoids the actual argument.
Yeah.
for as long as everyone else has. It makes sense she got into the Olympics. She's been swimming at that time for her entire career. But like I said, she didn't sweep. She didn't have such a crazy advantage that she was performing way above the ranks of the other women.
So, even if it were shown that trans women had distinct advantages, that wouldn't be enough to move you to agree.
Yeah, because like I said, cis woman could have an advantage on another cis woman.
Yeah.
So why should I care if a trans woman has an advantage on a cis woman when a cis woman can also have an advantage on another cis woman? Like the fact that they're trans doesn't really mean anything.
Leftist logic.
Like I said,
Well, like that. Who's the WNBA player? I know no one cares about the WNBA. I certainly don't. Brittany Griner. She's the one that got caught with marijuana, and she's over in Russia.
Yeah.
She's 6'8". So yeah, she dominates most girls who are 5'7", 5'8", and things like that. And she's been playing her entire life, so she has a distinct advantage being 6'8", as Shaquille O'Neal did playing with men at 7'1", 350 pounds, and be able to run like a deer in his younger years.
Right, and what she doesn't understand, if you took all of those Shaquille or athletes, like men athletes that are all 6'8" and above, there wouldn't be any women left in the WNBA if they all identified as women, because that 6'8" male is going to be most likely better than that 6'8" female.
Yeah.
Because of biological advantages.
Yeah. But like the argument 3 minutes ago, if you took 6'8" Brittany Griner, who's an all-star in the WNBA, whatever that means, and you put her on an NBA team...
That's what I said, she wouldn't even make it.
She wouldn't get off the bench.
No. Yeah. I know. It's...
having a genetic advantage can and is a part of sports.
Okay.
But again, then why separate it into male and female sports? She avoids it.
I think I understand their reasoning, but I'm not positive.
I have a question for them.
Yes.
So do you think that there could be like the women's group, the man group, and then people who are trans have their own category?
Who's the question for? Which one?
Either or.
I feel like those groups would just alienate them even more and just like put them off into a separate category because they don't belong in women or male. They're not being put properly into the groups that they identify with.
That's what I said. She's more of the typical just liberal and wants to be fair and everything equitable. So that's why she said, well, she's proven that it's not fair, she's willing to move. But then she's going back to feelings, well, those people would feel ostracized if they had their own league.
I've changed my thought on this. We've done a few videos on the whole transgender thing with Leah Thomas and the weightlifter in the Olympics. And I used to have the argument, okay, you have men, you have women, and you have the transgender category. If I ever said there should be one, I'm changing my mind now. There shouldn't be, because we've all agreed that these people have some psychological thing going on. They need help, mental help. Get that help. Once you've done that, then go back to playing the sport that you played in.
But I'll play devil's advocate.
Okay.
You've got Special Olympics for people with physical and mental problems. They have their own league. So in that thing, they can't compete against the elite athletes, so they get to compete at least. So at least if you had a transgender, because obviously we know, reasonable people know that most transgender females aren't going to be able to compete with the men. If they did, they would probably stay in the men's group, and they're going to have an advantage in the women's. So maybe that's the way out.
I don't know, but the Special Olympics is different. Being born with a limb that doesn't work as well, a Down syndrome, something like that, that is not a choice you make.
But you just said it's a mental condition. Transgenderism.
Yeah.
Well, Down syndrome, some of those things it's a genetic mental, but some people will say, well, transgenderism is a genetic mental condition. I'm playing, like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate. It might be a way out of this.
I think it's akin to the flea circus or the sideshow. I think it just gives them another place to grandstand and say, look how different we are. You give them their own category, it's almost bowing down to them.
All right.
Sports, as you know from not even knowing what that means, there, the sea falcons or whatever. But my question
He's just
is,
been a jerk.
Aren't there? I thought there were rules
still
against
standing there.
shooting yourself up with steroids, aren't there?
Yes.
So when you shoot yourself up with steroids, that must mean you have a competitive advantage. So that's why they don't do it, right?
Shooting yourself up with steroids gives you a competitive.
I would assume, or else there wouldn't be a rule
Can't
against
follow.
it.
Yes, there is a rule against using performance enhancing steroids, but I don't think that's on the same level as hormone therapy.
No, that's not where I was going with it. So,
Okay.
no, I was going with it. It's possible that there are certain things that one can do to yield a performance advantage.
Yes.
So, shouldn't the idea be, and I'm just thinking through this for myself, shouldn't the idea be that we want to level the playing field to take out advantages for different people?
I think like artificial advantages is what you're trying to say. Like, just yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were waving to somebody.
Well, first of all, it's Seahawks.
You were a teacher, so you know that one student that always does this.
Yeah. Want to prove you wrong? I have a question.
Gotta wrap.
Seahawks.
Performance enhancing drugs are obviously banned. It's because
Obviously.
they enhance your performance. However, if you have enough money, you can pay a coach to help advance your performance. You know what I mean? Like, there's specific training facilities, there's specific programs. It all costs money to access. And by accessing those with money, you also gain an advantage. So it's not like these hormones.
So we should get.
It's not like because these hormones are only banned because they're performance enhancing. They're also.
They're blocking our face. Is this AOC?
No, I don't think
Is
it's
this
AOC.
AOC? It's
No.
got to be AOC.
No, 'cause
She's using AOC logic.
I know, but you would be able to see the teeth show through if it was AOC. Being able to eat well and to work out well, could be a function of money? Yeah. But at the same time, every male has access to working out. You know, your gym may be a lot better than my gym, but you still have, and you can still go to Sprouts or any store and buy the same fruits and vegetables that anybody else can.
Well, I was going to bring this up anyway. If you look at the NBA and sprinters in the Olympics, how many of them are because they came from rich families?
Not too many. They usually grow up eating very bad food, and they make it anyway. It's
And
just
Usain Bolt, who grew up in Jamaica, which is not a rich country, is the fastest man in the world.
right. And Brian's going to disagree with this. I don't care. Look at the best player in the NFL, Tom Brady. I didn't want you jumping in there. Yeah, he has a nutritionist. Yeah, he works out. But if you go back and look at clips of his combine,
Oh, he was terrible. He looked
wasn't the strongest guy in the world, wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but he worked diligently and ate well and worked out well, slept well, and became arguably the greatest player in the NFL. Let's move on before you say
They're
something.
also extremely harmful on people's bodies.
So we should give, if that logic holds, we should give all non-trans women extra coaching to make up.
Wait, she was just talking about harmful chemicals, steroids, so that's why we ban them. But giving hormone treatment to kids is not harmful? Is that what she's saying?
Pretty much.
I almost just can't with this
Up
one.
for the deficiencies.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
Not what I'm
furthering
saying.
showing that there's already a discrepancy in sports. If you're rich and can pay for equipment, training facilities, a training coach, you're gonna do better than someone who can't. And I'm not saying. And
This gets me back to the thing I just posed to you.
Right.
And we saw a TikTok, and if I can find it, I'll put it on here.
The kids got it too easy. That's the problem. Too easy. When I mean two, not the word two, but the number two. Too easy. Because they got that two-parent love. Two-parent love is overrated. I'm sorry to say that. It is. I know it's great to have both parents, but not when you're trying to raise an athlete. Because my kids are pretty good in basketball, but they never work on their game because they got that two-parent love. They come home, they got air conditioning, heating, cupboard full of food, video games. Like, why don't you guys go outside and work on your game? It's too hot out there, Dad. It's comfortable in here. Meanwhile, that single-parent kid who doesn't know who his father is hates his home life. Mother's always yelling at him, he's always hungry, so he's never at home. Instead, he's at the park working on his game 6 hours a day, and he is going to destroy my kids. This is why I grabbed my kids and told them, this is why I'm leaving your mom. They're crying, why are you leaving us? Because you won't practice. I don't know what else to do. My hands are tied. Maybe if you see me every other weekend, you get your act together.
And if everyone in the world had access
And
to that
hard
training,
work.
I
Yep.
don't think the Olympics would look the same. There'd be a lot of different people in there, but they don't because inequities, like I said, are inherently in sports. They're gonna be in sports no matter what.
Did that convince you?
She opened up.
You can't control. There are always going to be certain people who have advantages, certain people have disadvantages, and I don't want to
Called life.
mischaracterize your argument, but the idea is that. All right, well, you can come to the next one. You go. All right, well, I guess not then. Okay, so the idea then is that if you're born to a rich family, you have certain advantages, and if you're born to a poor family, you'll have disadvantages. So there are already inequities built into the system, so why worry about one more inequity? I think that's what she was saying.
I think the comparison between the like wealth or someone or the advantages that they have are completely different than like genetically in them versus like being able to pay for a facility or something.
How does it make you feel if you compete against, for example, in lacrosse?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel if you compete against someone born biological male? Do you think that's like you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth. How does it make you feel?
I would think it'd be unfair, especially if that male came from playing men's lacrosse.
Can I ask you what seemed like a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask anyway? What's wrong with it being unfair? Life is unfair. Some people are born with like no legs.
I mean, that's true that life is unfair, but it's like it's the sport of lacrosse, specifically what I'm talking about, where there's the men's and the women's, and a lot of sports are very different men and women wise, and obviously it's not always fair, but it's equally as fair.
So now she's got an ally, Seahawks girl. So you're gonna see her posture completely open up here and get more annoying if that's possible.
As fair when it's all women versus like the other side being all men versus all men, all women versus all women. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, but I'm not sure it makes sense to them. Hi, you just joined.
Well, I have just a quick sentence.
Okay.
They're gonna say some things. In response to that, if a girl...
Did you catch that?
They're gonna say something.
She's talking about the black girl that just showed up.
Uh-huh.
She didn't say she's going to say something, so my guess is she asked her pronouns when she walked up, and she just said, they're going to say something. You didn't catch it? I didn't catch it the first time
Okay.
when I was editing this.
So the black girl is they.
They. So she
Okay.
goes by they, them.
Lord have mercy.
So it kind of tells you what the position's going to be right there. It's a giveaway. But I'm sure, I don't know if you guys caught it, but she said they're going to say something.
Oh boy.
I'm going to back that one up
Rewind
just
it
a
back just a
second.
little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I have just a quick sentence.
Okay.
They're gonna say some things. In response to that, if a girl went to a middle or high school where they didn't have a big sports fund and she paid on the male lacrosse team and then transferred to a school that had a girls and boys lacrosse team and then she chose to play on the girls team
Another
after playing
stupid
on the boys
argument.
team, no one cared. No one cared because she's cis. They only care because she's trans. No one really cares
No, they only
trans.
care because she's a man.
Yes. Yes.
about you playing the man version of a sport if you're a girl
man
and then
version.
you play the woman version later. They only care when you're trans.
Yeah.
The transness of this all is really what people get strung up.
If that were to be the case where I played a male sport and then went to a female sport, I did not pump hormones in my body to genetically get me to a better place than playing with males.
Nice ping pong.
Hi. You do know.
Hi.
Hi. You do know that's what birth control is for, right? To pump estrogen.
But a lot of cis women are.
To pump estrogen into your body so that you're actually physically able to do things. And the point of a competitive sport is to be genetically better.
Look at Seahawks now. Look at her posture.
Yeah.
She went
She's
from
like,
defensive to...
Get her.
I'm just
I
waiting.
now I have an ally.
Than the other person. Take the Olympics, for example. There are cis women that are better than other cis women because they are genetically made to be that way. And putting natural hormones in your body, I hope you know that you as a cis woman also has testosterone in your body as well as estrogen and progesterone.
How do you know she's a cis woman?
Are you a cis woman? Okay.
I didn't know that.
I did, I can tell. As a
You have like a gaydar for cis women.
I do, because I'm not a cis woman, and I
So there it is. She's not a cis woman. She's a they.
Right.
know what cis women look like and act like.
And act like.
Am I a cis woman?
You're not a cis woman, but if you're a woman, that's okay.
No, I'm a man.
Okay, hello. What are your pronouns?
That caught him off guard.
I need time to think.
All right, no problem. Anyways,
Pronouns.
sports, that is the entire purpose of competitive sports. And you just trying to justify your transphobia with the fact of being genetic.
So there it is. Stay tuned next time when we get into calling everybody transphobic who doesn't agree with you.
That's just, it used to be racist.
Yeah.
You don't understand, you're racist.
Yeah. So now
understand
that
you're
person
transphobic.
is transphobic. Stay tuned for our next episode where the blonde girl on the other side will attempt to stick up for herself.